1-0, 3 points, go back to London, another week of training under your belt, and you look at maybe some of the approach play, the decision making in the final third, and maybe, just maybe, you start the games until after the couple of international breaks. Maybe you start with Kai Havertz because that's who the team knows how to, who to play with at the moment. I think Gyökeres will be fine. I think he will do well for Arsenal. However, in these Premier League games against defenders who are just as physical as he is, it's going to take some adjusting. And we were lucky today, I would say. I think we were lucky today because Manchester United are still trying to figure out a few things as well. They looked way better than they did last season. And I think they'll be. I said this about a week or two ago when I was talking about like the end of the preseason. I was like, yeah, Manchester United are looking like they've done a good job of finding an offensive threat, and that keeps defensive structures a bit honest. And with those wing backs, they keep the pitch really big, and I think they're going to definitely generate a lot more joy for their fans at Old Trafford this year. I think United are going to be. I don't know how consistent they'll be able to be, but they don't have Europe, so like, I think that's going to make them a threat. I'm glad that we went there and we went and got the 3 points before they maybe figure out a few things. Because I think, yeah, it's going to be harder and harder to go to Old Trafford, and I think they're going to make it maybe top six, maybe top five this year. I think, especially if they're not done in the transfer market, if they get a central midfielder, a goalkeeper, I think they have enough options to get away with the centre backs they have at the moment, especially with the firepower they bought up front. I think United should be fine. I do, however, think in the midfield, like they're gonna need to get some more young players in the midfield, Manchester United. But some positives for United, I would say, like, I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm gonna keep it 100. Manchester United did a really good job in possession. Like I thought they were going to be more defensive than they were, but they played really well. Hi, thanks for joining. Thank you for joining. Malachi Edits, is that? Yep. And Catherine Diaz in the chat. Welcome to the chat, guys. Yeah, and please do let me know your thoughts if you were watching the game. But yeah, Manchester United found some players. I would say Patrick Dorgu, they signed last year. He looked incredible. Mason Mount looked like the player they thought they were buying from Chelsea. Looked great. And with that home crowd, there's something we can learn, I think, as Arsenal fans. Like, if you see teams like that finish with 42 points the year before, and they get behind their team, like their fans, that get behind the team after a 1-0 loss on opening day to a big rival, I hope, really, really hope those of us who are able to go to the Emirates Stadium are going to hold our nerve and support this Arsenal team because they will need the support. They definitely integrating a lot of players. Arsenal left so many players actually not on the matchday squad. Sambi Lokonga not on the matchday squad. Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, Norgard, a new signing from this summer, not on the matchday squad. Kivior. So there were so many players who didn't even make the matchday squad. That's a sign that Arsenal are definitely going to go through some growth pains, and they're going to need some time to figure out like those relationships. But what was really worrying for me as an Arsenal fan today was how ineffective we were on the ball, even though we only made 2 changes to the starting 11, really. Because Ben White is a starter for Arsenal, and he's always played when he's been available, except for the last season when Jurgen Timber took over, because Ben White was gone for about 4 months of the season, and he looks a bit shaky defensively. However, like what I expect when Ben White plays with Saka and Odegaard is for us to look more fluid and look better on the ball. That was not the case today. We didn't look great on the ball today. And I don't know whether that's because the angles were different with a new striker or what was the little bit that was holding the team back. I do think Arsenal are going to need some time offensively. Hopefully, we get through these first 6 games because, like, it is a hell of a hard start. Like, you have Leeds next week. That's a little breather. But then you're going away to Liverpool the week after that. If you can get to Liverpool game on 6 points, that would be really good if you're Arsenal, even though you played shit today. I mean, we didn't look good today. We looked actually like really bad. And United will consider themselves extremely unfortunate to not have walked out of there with at least 1 point. And if I'm being honest, even though I'm an Arsenal fan, they should have won the game, like I would say. But the good thing about football is that there's two sides to the ball. You play defense and you play offense. And our defense could match their best offense. And so maybe I'm being a little unfair to Arsenal, maybe for saying we should have lost the game. However, I was really unhappy. I can't lie. Like, I was unhappy with the way we played. It was a really hard watch from start to finish. It got a little bit better with Kai Havertz coming on and Noni Madueke because I think Kai knows how we play and he helps a little bit more to give us, you know, numeric advantages on the flanks. He floats out of the number 9 role a bit better than Gyökeres, but I think Gyökeres will be fine. I don't want to go too hard on the guy. Like, I think his effort was good. He was there. He was running, but he's clearly gonna have to adjust to a more physical league. He's gonna have to adjust to his teammates, and Arsenal teammates are gonna have to adjust to him. So that's fine. The other thing I think is for Arsenal, like if we go to the Liverpool game on 6 points, and maybe we draw there or we steal a win, then there's still 2 hard games after that. That's Newcastle and Manchester City. So, like, I don't think I've ever seen a harder start than that for the Gunners or any team really. Like, 4 of the first 6 games are against Champions League teams really. Like, I mean, I know Man United is not a Champions League team right now, but like going to Old Trafford is never easy, no matter what shape they're in. We always struggle to go there, and today was another example of that. Arsenal struggled at Old Trafford, but anyway, guys, like I enjoyed this weekend because of this win even more. But like I've been watching some of the other games, and I noticed like the Premier League is gonna be won maybe with 85 points again, or somewhere in the mid 80s or low 80s, because there's just too many good teams. Manchester United, who finished on 42 points last year, are going to probably this year finish on 20 plus points from where they were last year. Teams like Bournemouth, they haven't finished yet, but I saw them against Liverpool. Like, they held their own until the late flurry of goals at Anfield. But Liverpool are probably not done in the market as well. I think they just added that Italian defender. I think his last name is Leone, and they probably might still add Mark Gehi. I think Liverpool are going to be one of the favourites, if not the favourite, to win the Premier League this year. I think Manchester City are going to be back to close to what we know of them. However, I think after Arsenal, I think that's my top 3: City, Arsenal, and Liverpool in whatever order, like depending on injury and other things. But the last 2 positions, it could be Chelsea, it could be Newcastle, it could be Tottenham Hotspur. Thomas Frank is going to be a good coach for Tottenham Hotspur. Like, they have good structure and they have good offensive talent, and you can always build from a good defensive foundation. Like, if you don't concede and leak too many goals, which I don't think a Thomas Frank team will, with the kind of talent they have at Tottenham Hotspur. And if they add Eze to that and add Savinho to that, they would have to be feeling quite strong about their chances to make the Champions League again next year. And I think Aston Villa will probably have something to say as well in terms of like those European sports. And they'll probably have an easier run into the knockout stages of the Europa League, which would help them in the Premier League. Newcastle, Champions League football, their transfer window is going to have to do them a bit more favors than what it's been so far. So, but we'll see, man. Like I'm so happy that football is back, and now we're gonna at least focus less on transfer news and actually talk about football, which is why we love the game. I know the transfer market is, it's blown up and it's become one of the big things about the sport. But until you see people on the grass, you can't really tell how good a transfer window you had. And right now, I'm happy that my team started with the win, but I also am looking forward to watching a lot of the other teams and see what they do. And one of the things I love about the Premier League is the coaching talent. There's just so many really good coaches. And speaking of good coaches, I spoke on a video earlier on about Crystal Palace needing to really try to do their as much as they can to keep Oliver Glasner, because if they don't support him, either somebody is going to knock at their door to poach him or he is going to ask to leave. That might be a bit of a situation to watch there at Palace, because they're going to lose two key players who are pivotal for them. And if they don't replace them with adequate talent, I think Glasner might be poached by somebody, or he may even ask to leave. Anyway, I'm going to stop this one here. I don't like to do long videos. If you like what you see here, guys, please subscribe, like, share, all the good things. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I like to talk football, and I'll be posting like regular videos. Nothing too long. Most of them are going to be more like 3 minutes and under, but sometimes when I go live, I'll go a little bit longer. Thank you for watching, and I will be talking to you soon. Cheers.